have the sign-up sheet going around. Make sure you sign up before you leave, okay? If you need to get a hold of me, I'm upstairs in room 304, right between Dr. McPeak and Dr. Fuller. And Mr. Grill is right down the hall, so I'm kind of bombarded with all these guys at my end. But all the women are at the other end. Go ahead, Elaine. Thank you.
Very good. Well, thank you very much. You can listen to me another time. I've been here once already talking about portfolios. This is kind of an interesting, this is a really good combination of topics. It's kind of a hybrid presentation. It's including both a little bit of interviewing, because first impressions are really kind of the whole key to interviewing. So we're just touching upon that, and a little bit about resume writing, which again is a first impression that can help you connect with employers and hopefully get into the job that you're interested in. My name is Elaine Morseman. Maureen Sybil also works in the office, and I think I told you this before, I want to repeat it again, that we are here to help you. So any topic that you have a question about, if you're looking at transferring, or you have an interview, you're looking for internship, you're kind of lost, you're not sure what you want to do with your major, anything related to your college career and your eventual career, we would be more than happy to help with. And if we don't know the answer, we'll really try to find it I'm going really green today, so I don't have any handouts. The only thing I did bring in on this front desk of the little cards are Career 1, 2, 3. This is a big version of it. But it has a summary of our 3 online programs that we think are really kind of comprehensive in covering all different kinds of needs that you may have throughout your entire time at Alfred State. You can use them all after you leave. So JobLink is the program where we post all kinds of jobs, internships, on-campus jobs. It also has information about the career fair. So we just had the Alfred Career Fair. We have the Wellsville Career Fair next week, and then we'll be gearing up for the spring one here pretty soon. CareerBeam is a great resource for you if you're looking for information. It's kind of like a virtual career center. So we invite you to check into that. You can find all kinds of information there if you're looking at interviewing, you're not sure how to prepare. It has some great information. There's industry and employer databases in there that are constantly updated, so there's millions of employers. So anything that you want to do as far as researching companies is also a great tool for that. And then Optimal Resume, which I think all of you are already using for your portfolio. We'll touch upon it today regarding resumes and how to build your resume on that. Any questions about those 3 programs before I continue on? Very good. And if any of you don't know, we did move to the Student Leadership Center, so we are on the 4th floor, kind of tucked away in the back hallway. But we're room 404 SLC. We also have an interview room, so if anyone wants to make use of that, if you want to do a Skype interview or you need some quiet space to do some type of interview like that, we are more than willing to help you with that as well. So how to make a positive first impression, that's what we're going to be talking about today. And really it's all about how you're presenting yourself, how you're dressing, but there's other components that are important in that. Anyone have a guess how quickly first impressions are formed? Seconds? Seconds. Yeah, I mean, what I've heard, I've been in this field, I worked at Allegheny County Employment and Training for 11 years before I came to Alfred State. I've been here 11 years, so it's kind of a magic number for me. But it's been pretty much the same. Things have changed as far as social media, online things, but the whole job search and presenting yourself has really been kind of consistent all the way through. First 7 words, first 7 seconds is typically the number that I've heard. I think that might have shortened up a little bit. I think people make more, really instantaneous impressions are formed. You really have, but the bottom line is you really only have one chance to make a good first impression. If you go and you can do all kinds of great things with your resume. You can have, great GPA, you're really doing well in school, you put all this time into it, you show up to an interview looking sloppy or not looking your best, you've already blown your chance. It's pretty amazing how important first impressions are. So first 7 words, first 7 seconds, you look at the right person for the job. And employers often make their decisions based on this. And interesting fact, we just had our career fair here in Alfred, and the #1 comment made by employers, either positive or negative, was how people were dressed. I got a really nice comment. One employer said, fantastic job, students were dressed for the career fair, shirts, ties, etc. So that's what they were expecting. Another employer who wasn't too happy must have seen another group of students that tell students to dress for the fair. So they're thinking of that for the career fair, they're thinking about that for the interviews. You really need to dress the part. Hopefully this is going to work. You're going to see how to not do it right.
with Steven.
Yes.
Nice to meet you. So why don't you start off by telling me a little bit about yourself?
Grew up in Akron, graduated from high school. Just been taking it easy ever since then.
Okay. And what was your last position?
I was a clerk at a video store.
Okay. And did you like that?
Yeah, I like it a
You
lot.
liked it? And how long were you there for?
2 months, about.
Okay. And why did that end?
Well, really, I was framed. They caught videos in my car that were out. I was taking them out before they. Well, I wasn't taking them out,
Right.
but they were in my car like 2 weeks before they came out, and they thought I was like stealing them.
They thought you had
Yeah, and like
them.
selling them and stuff like that. But really, like, I think one of the guys I worked with planted it on.
Okay.
So.
And well, why are you interested in this particular position?
Seems like it's a pretty prestigious job managing, and I think like I'd be cut out good for that.
Okay.
I'm pretty, I take command of a situation.
So what do you enjoy the most or the least about the restaurant business?
I definitely enjoy eating the most, and the least probably dealing with customers.
Okay. And
I mean, I'll do it, but
right. Well, what's your goal? Like, what's your future goal?
for life or for working here? For life, it would probably have to be a millionaire, and for working here, I'd probably just meet some girls.
Okay. And well, what do you believe are your personal strengths or your weaknesses?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again?
What do you believe are your personal strengths or weaknesses?
I don't really see any weaknesses in myself. So, strength, probably my looks.
And do you have a reference or a
Um,
resume maybe?
yeah, my computer kind of fried on the resume thing,
Okay.
but I could give you a few names for references.
Oh, okay.
My Uncle Charlie is listed in the book, and just no one from the video store though.
Now, with our company, we do periodic drug tests. Would that count?
Don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes, you're in the party area
Right.
and fumes.
Yeah. Okay. But do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, how much do you start out at out here?
Well, it varies. I mean, it depends on what position you're put in, and people work their way up too as we go along, so.
Is it hard to work? Well,
Well, they don't call it work for nothing.
oh, okay.
But,
Got the right man over here.
yeah, oh, good. Well, I will get in touch with you and let you know. I mean, we're interviewing several people for this, so.
Okay.
One position, but I'll keep you in mind. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
What'd you think about him?
Pretty bad.
That was without question. The worst interview I've ever seen.
And yes, it is. It's by the words. It probably encompassed every error that we've ever seen people make during interviews. He really didn't do anything right except for basically showing up, maybe some eye contact. But first impression was terrible, right? I mean, his dress wasn't professional, and it kind of went downhill from there. So you really, obviously, aren't going to make any of those mistakes. But a lot of the questions that she asked during that interview were really pretty classic interview questions. Anyone here, what's the first question employers typically ask you during an interview? What position you're applying for? Okay, they want to know that right away. Very good. And how about after that? Yes.
Usually why you're applying for the position.
Why you're applying for that position? Okay, so you want to back up why you're a good fit for that. Has anyone ever been asked, tell me about yourself? Is the very first question. A lot of times they start off kind of casual like that. It's like, oh, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself? Don't ever think of that as a casual question. And if you don't practice anything else for your interview, practice that question. And that's kind of, we kind of do our own separate, there's a whole workshop all about answering interview questions. But I want you all to at least be prepared for that one. That should include nothing personal. It shouldn't be, you know, a lot of times people think it's casual. They start talking about, well, I like horses and I ride dirt bikes and, you know, my family's from this area, and they start talking about personal things. That's fine when you're in a personal kind of exchange, but if it's an interview, every answer that you give that employer should be why you're the person for the job. Why should we hire you? Why are you applying for that job? So it should, what are some components that should be in your answer? What should you include if you were in that answer about telling me about yourself? Yes,
That you're a hardworking individual, that you're open to anything, and you will do everything to the top.
okay, so the skills like soft skills are very important. Oftentimes that's what people leave out. What else?
Some successes that you've had in your past jobs.
Okay, so successes, accomplishments, excellent. Yes.
Degrees that you have obtained throughout the years.
Very good. Degrees, so you basically covered all three, and that's perfect. It should be your education, everything that's important about your education you're working on right now. Your experience and everything you accomplished in a nice brief synopsis, but what the highlights are. And those soft skills like communication, dealing with others, teamwork, whatever that employer is looking for, you should customize your answer based on what that employer is looking for. So all three of those components need to be in that answer about tell me about yourself. And you should practice it, you should rehearse it. Don't try to wing it, you'll screw it up. I can guarantee it. I've seen so many people who I could tell did not practice that question ahead of time. So just remember that one. Tell me about yourself is really critical. So let's get back to the first impressions. So let's see, what's our next one? So I thought it might be helpful for you to see some of the top reasons people aren't hired. Does anyone have a guess on what the number one reason is that people don't get hired? No? You think it? Well, probably if you're underqualified, you may not even get into that interview. You know, I mean, that's a good point. But getting into the interview, yes?
Your appearance.
Absolutely. Number one reason, and you think about it, what's the easiest thing for you to fix? Your personal appearance, the way that you present yourself. You go in looking confident, and then you answer the questions, well, you've got it made. But if you think about it, first 7 words, first 7 seconds, when is that happening? Is it happening when you're sitting in that interview room?
It
Yes.
happens right when you greet the person for the interview.
Yeah, so it might happen when you're greeting the receptionist. It might happen in the bathroom when you are meeting that person that's doing the interview, or you're walking on that employer turf and you meet them in the parking lot. And then when you actually meet the person doing the interview, they're going to be making judgments. But everyone that you come in contact with is making a first impression about you, and believe me, they're going to talk back. They're going to let that person know what they thought of you. So if you decide to be rude to the person in the parking lot, or when you're driving in and grabbing the parking space because you're late, those kinds of things can really hurt you. You may already be not considered for the job based on that. But then when you walk in the door, your first impression, your personal appearance needs to be spot on and professional. And actually, when you look through this list, a lot of the other things kind of fit into that first impression grouping. Limp, fishy handshake. Got one of those. Terrible, right? What does that say about the person? If somebody gives you a really limp handshake, what are you thinking about that?
No respect.
No respect? You don't probably trust them? Do they feel like, you feel like they're confident?
Not at all.
Not at all. So, confidence is really portrayed with a nice, firm handshake. So you want to make sure that you're good at that. If you're not used to doing it, practice. It sounds silly, but it's better to practice your handshake than to be uncomfortable with doing a nice, firm handshake. Eye contact. There's several things on that list. So even if you condense that list, probably the top, a third of them at least would be related to first impressions and the way that you present yourself. So obviously, which one's making a better first impression? It's always better to play it safe and dress better than to dress worse. And I have a story of someone who actually had a really good job. They did telecom, so they climbed telephone poles. It was a hands-on kind of job, so they didn't wear suits and ties to work. But this person found out about a really good job from a friend, got set up for an interview. So he thought it was cool. He's all set up for the company he wanted to work at, quit his first job, which was the number one mistake. Went into that interview thinking he was all set for the job, but wanted to make the impression that he was ready to work. He was a worker and dressed in his work clothes for the interview. Did not get the job. That interviewer expected someone coming in expecting to be interviewed. Professional clothing in a suit, or at least a shirt and tie, showing that employer respect. So even though he was trying to present himself respectfully and what he thought the employer was looking for, that employer had a different concept. So it's always better. I've never heard an employer say, whoa, those students are way overdressed for that career fair. Never heard that once. So you never have to worry about somebody saying that, I don't think, unless you go in with a tuxedo. If you dress up and you dress a step above the other people, you're going to make that impression. You're going to look respectful to that employer. Better to play it safe than sorry. So some ways to look professional. Always neat, clean, obviously. Conservative. Better to not go with any wild colors, with any wild patterns. Better to play it safe. Especially all of you being in a business profession, it tends to be more conservative than, if you're going to be like in digital media or some more artistic types of professions. So you have to also consider those things. And you also have to consider the company you're applying to. Some are even more conservative than others. Make sure your shoes are clean. You might have the whole package looking really good and you walk in with dirty shoes. That employer make judgment about that, thinking you don't pay attention to all the details or you don't do a complete job. Don't go in with a briefcase, like carry a portfolio or, don't go in with a backpack, either have a briefcase or a portfolio. It just looks like you're ready to work rather than looking like you're a student still. So little things like that can really make a big impression. For women, same type of thing, just again, nothing really extreme as far as makeup, clothing, any kind of style or trends types of things. And for men, better to have neat, clean facial hair. Wear dark socks if you have suit or dress pants on. I see that a lot of times. I don't know if everybody forgot their dress socks with all the white socks on with the suit doesn't look so good. So make sure, again, you have the complete package if you can. Wear a belt and all that type of thing. Also be really careful about, you don't want to have any negative body odor, obviously, but you want to be careful about any kind of cologne, body sprays that might be too strong. Or what you eat before the interview. You don't want to eat anything that's really strong with odor, like onions, garlic. If you smoke, don't have a cigarette right before the interview. All those kinds of things can really turn that interview into a negative experience. You don't want that to happen. Besides your appearance at the interview, what does the employer see even before that? Or what other kinds of judgments can they make based on what? Pardon me?
Resume.
Resume? Okay, absolutely. All your paperwork, resume, cover letter, application, all have to look good. What else? Okay, so references, any other like third-party types of impressions about you? Very good. Phone interviews, okay, yeah, good. Those are kind of a totally different beast, something very different. If you haven't practiced those, we'd even practice one of those with you. They're kind of unnerving in some ways because you can't really get that feedback from the employer. So phone interviews are totally different. Social media, thank you. Definitely want to have your online image looking good. How many people, oops, let's not do that yet. How many people here have done a Google search of themselves? You all should, if you haven't. And make sure whatever is coming up is going to be positive, whatever you have control over. If it has to do with you and it's negative, get rid of it. Because if you're able to see that, that's what the employer's going to look at. They're going to check you out. Anybody that has a computer is going to look you up online now. They're going to want to see what your image is. And again, you can do all that hard work at school, you can have a great resume, and then they find some kind of questionable image about you online, you probably won't get called in. And they're not going to tell you, well, we didn't call you in because you had this image on Facebook, but you're just not going to get the interview. You're not going to get called in. So don't take any chances like that. Obviously, you don't want to have any of these things showing up on the search if they're looking for you. And these were images of students from other, I didn't look at Alfred State, these are from other schools that I was able to access very easily, so if I could, the employer now absolutely could. So, of course, I'm preaching to you here about you want to clean up your digital dirt. Everything needs to look really good, squeaky clean online. But what people have done a lot then, tell them that is they decide, well, okay, I'm just going to delete everything. I'm going to inactivate my Facebook page, I'm going to delete this. And that's almost become a detriment for some people in the job search because it's almost expected now for you to have some type of online presence. If you don't, they can't really get a full picture of you. So I mean, the worst thing is for you to have something negative online. You definitely want to get rid of that. But this, almost the second worst thing is to be totally invisible online, because then they're kind of wondering, like, what is this person doing? What's the whole picture of them? It's really good to have a really positive image online. Does anyone have an idea of a really good venue for that, a good tool to use to present a good positive image of yourself? LinkedIn, excellent. LinkedIn is awesome for that. How many people here have LinkedIn profile? All right, here we go. This is great to start seeing all those hands coming up. LinkedIn is a fantastic tool. It's free. It is an amazing tool for you to be able to find employers, find people who work in the HR department at companies you want to work at, find Alfred State alumni who work at companies that you want to work at. Think about the great networking potential that you have there. In addition to you presenting yourself as a professional, starting to look for work and start building your network. So all of you should check into, at least start building it, because it really takes years for you to build a network. It's not something that you can do, like I'm a senior now, I think I'm going to build my LinkedIn network in the next semester, because it takes quite a while. So check it out, start building and start making connections. Maureen and I both have a pretty big network that we've been building, because we want to try to connect you with employers or with alumni who might work at some really cool places. And you'd be amazed at some of the Alfred State alumni and some of the positions that they hold, in their own businesses, working at some big name companies. So it's a great way for you to, even if you don't want to work at that company, maybe get some feedback from them about how did you get your start in this industry? What could I do to even have them critique your LinkedIn profile, just to get some feedback? So general guidelines, your appearance needs to be consistent with your message. If you're going in looking for work, look like the person for the job. General rules, dress a step or two above what you'd be wearing on the job. Always better, like if you're going to interview on campus, to dress up than dress down. Don't take that chance. Because usually employers are pretty happy if you're dressed up in nice professional clothing. And you can always check out the company dress code ahead of time, make contact that way. This is a good example of how to answer the interview question.
Who are the men and women who have served in the United States military? They are leaders.
Impressive answer. Nice example.
Wow, they're really prepared.
Good point.
I want to hire this person.
Why should I hire you?
Well, I believe I'd be a good fit for this position. I have the energy as well as the work ethic necessary. I've been told by my supervisors as well as the people who I've worked with that I'm a type A personality. My work motto is do things right the first time, even if it takes extra effort or time. At Smith & Company, which is on our resume, I worked 4 80-hour work weeks in a row because the client bumped up their deadline by 2 months. And you have to do what you have to do. I also like what I read on your website about customer service being a focus for your company. And it's very aligned with what I believe in, which is respect and honesty. And I will let a company know or a client know that I cannot help them if we can't. And it actually has led to some successes in the past where a company has come back to me 5 years later, and when they did need our services, and they closed a big deal with us, and it was like the company's second largest deal in that history of the company. So I was pretty proud of that. Also, I believe I have the organizational aptitude that would be very attractive to your company. Out of college, I worked for this company that was 15 years old, and they were about to declare bankruptcy. And through various systems, implementations, and procedures, we avoided bankruptcy. By the second year, we were profitable. So I believe that company is ranked 3rd in the nation as far as market share for what they do. So I'm happy about that too. Overall, with those qualities as well as my degree in management, I believe that would make me a very solid candidate for this position.
Impressive answer. Nice example.
So what did you think about him? What did he do well? His answers were really professional, good first impression. Did anybody notice like something he did really well as far as like numbers and things? He gave some really good examples of proving being hardworking. Did anyone catch the one example used about being hardworking?
40 hours?
3 80-hour work weeks to get the job done. Anytime that you can do that, where you back it up, like rather than just saying, what people have gotten really good at is talking about using those buzzwords like hardworking, excellent communication, good customer service, and it's become very vague. It's kind of frustrating to employers if that's all you do. What's really important is that you back it up with some kind of example every time you do that. So rather than just saying you're hardworking, if you can say something like that, you worked 3 80-hour work weeks to get that job done on time, that says a lot more about you, and that's going to make you stand out over the other candidates. So on your resume, in your interview, every chance you have to give an accomplishment, an example, numbers, things like that, it's excellent to do. And he did that really well. I mean, he went on and on and on. It's kind of tough to do that sometimes. But every chance you have, you want to give them all the proof that you can do the job. The other thing that he did really well that I see a lot of students often mess up on is he ended strong. What I see students do a lot of times is they'll do a really good job at getting that tell me about yourself speech ready. They'll start off really strong and then at the end they'll be in, stuff like that. Or and like that, or just a very weak ending where it just kind of trails off. When you practice that speech, end it strong. Say at the end, and that's why I think it'd be an excellent fit for this position. My passion for customer service is why I think I'd be great in your customer service department. Something that's going to really drive that point home so the employer remembers that strong statement at the end, not a weak, limp ending at the end of it all that really kind of takes away everything that you said at the beginning. Anything else about his answers that you noticed? Pardon me?
He thought he was gone.
Well, yeah.
Can you talk to the tools?
Talk to his hands too much. Yeah, and he almost comes off a little bit cocky, which I think could turn some people off. And I do, but he's one of the better examples that I could find online, at least as far as the content. But you definitely want to come across as being genuine. You don't want to ever say you don't have any weaknesses. So you don't want to come off thinking that you're perfect, always that you're willing to learn. But so take from his example at least the accomplishments of using numbers. That's really good to do. Okay, so now we're going to kind of switch to the resume, because that's your other part in presenting it's the first impression they're going to see before they see you. So you want to make sure that this is looking excellent. How many people, has anyone here been on Optimal Resume already? For the most part, all of you had to do for a portfolio. So as far as getting to the website, all of you are good with that. And you always want to make sure you go to our branded site. So I don't want to go over stuff that you already know about. But if you haven't done the resume component, that part's really good because there are a lot of samples that are included. A lot of them that we've actually added based on Alfred State College programs. So it's not, there were a lot of samples that came with Optimal Resume, and then we added the ones that are specific to our college, which are, we have a lot of unique programs like culinary, and then we have diesel mechanics, and we have construction management, so a wide variety. So we have all different samples, so you can always access the different samples, create an account if you haven't the first time. And then when you get actually into the document center, this is where you can go to the resume portion. You always need to create a resume, name it first. And then there are always the tutorials that you can watch, the really brief ones, or there are longer webinars that are pre-recorded or that you can sign up for in the future that walk you through all the different steps. And really, they have specific things about using keywords to build your resume. So it's always changing. There's always great support with this program. If you wanted to look at, I think the easiest way to get started, if you haven't, is to go to the samples, because that's where you can access everything. And there are a lot of good business samples that came with the program, so you can check those out. But they have ones from entry level all the way to people that have been in the business for a while. Then you can choose by different categories. So there's a business and finance, and you can see, this might be an old screenshot, we might have more. But there are 3 entry level, 1 mid-career, and 1 experience sample on there. So you can at least get an idea of the differences based on that. And then from those 3 entry level ones, you can take a look at the thumbnails. If you like one of them, click on it, choose to use it. And if you use that sample, when you click on that, it's going to populate your name and address into the top, so you don't have to redo that. And then what you can do is just click on each section. So if you were to click on education, that whole area would get highlighted. You go in and tweak it, adding the Alfred State information, your degree, your GPA, all that information. but then you can not have to start from scratch as far as what you want to include on that. The other part that's really nice, in addition to those samples, is you can look at all these different resume sections. So if you really aren't sure what to include in your qualifications, your skills section, it gives you all kinds of bullets as examples. So you can pick one of them and just tweak it a little bit so that it fits your personality a little bit better. But at least it'll give you some guidelines on how to get started so that you can use some nice, strong, powerful language. So here's what it looks like if you did want to choose one of the samples to look at. There are the different sample bullets. You can click on it, add it to your resume, and you wouldn't even have to retype all of it. Then, this is the other part that I found fairly recently. There are different tips to, like the best practices or best in class resumes for the different types of industries. So this particular one I think is architecture or engineering, but there's a business one as well. So it'll give you like the best in class business resume, what to include. So, you know, you're building up, it's looking pretty good, you want to pump it up a little bit more, you can go to these tips. They'll give you some more ideas on what to include in your resume. So a lot of guidance. And then, of course, in addition to the resume, you do the portfolio, which all of you are hopefully using. Cover letter, you can incorporate all of it into the website, and so then send that employer the URL. They can look at all the samples of your work, your resume, your cover letter, and that whole package is there to market yourself, which is pretty sweet. Any questions about optimal resume? Everyone doing okay with it? So there's our those 3 programs again. If anyone wants one of those cards, you grab one before you leave. If you ever have any problems logging in with any of the programs, just let me know.
Any questions? All right, guys, what you need to do for this class for week 10, your assignment is to create a resume and a cover letter. You need to post that in your portfolio. You also have another assignment that you have to write in your journal. And I posted this all